Hi there, my name is Justin Thorpe, and I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar on personalizing your website and email marketing for better results. Today, speaking, we have Charlie Riverte. He's the VP and GM of Publisher Products at AdThis, and Tom Tate. He's the Marketing Project Manager at AWeber. Charlie's going to talk first about how to get the most email subscribers through website personalization. Then Tom will talk about how to personalize your email, followed by some question and answers at the end of the session. First, a couple of housekeeping items. The webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you along with the slides after it's over. Currently, all attendees are on mute. If you have any questions, feel free to submit in the GoToWebinar console on the right at any time during the webinar for Q&A after the presentations. Lastly, if you're interested in tweeting about the webinar, the hashtag is #ATWebinar. Okay, let me pass it over to Charlie.
Hey Justin, can you hear me?
Yep, you should have presenter mode now.
Great, how's that?
It's good, you're good to go.
Killer. All right, hey, welcome everybody. Very happy to speak with you today. If you've been an AdThis user for a while, we really helped power the social revolution back in the day. To date ourselves, we were one of the best ways to get your site on MySpace, if you will. And now, our focus has been on mobile, right? As I'm sure yours has. And one of the new trends that we're seeing that's the most important to keep up with, in our opinion, is personalization. We all have focused a lot on our marketing activities to bring people to our site, whether it's search engine marketing or content marketing, or our focus today is going to be email marketing. But we really need to be spending a lot more time on how to improve our site to really meet the needs of our visitors, to make sure they have the best experience, want to refer their friends, and keep coming back. So we're going to talk about a few problems that we see websites doing. There's really a lot of opportunity for us to do a better job for our visitors and get a lot more performance. So we work really hard to bring traffic to our site. People click on a link they find in Twitter, and then this is what we do to them, right? We've all been to sites like this where I find some headline that one of my friends tweeted, and I'm really excited to go and read the article, and then instead in my face they slam to me this promotion to sign up to their newsletter. And if you're like me, I go straight for the X and kill it. Because really this is an inappropriate time to try to go for a close for your visitors. They're there for content, they're there to get to know you, and you're trying to close them and really take before you give value. And this is kind of how you make them feel, right? So we definitely want to avoid that. What are some other things we do? So I'm sure we've all been to sites that are a mile long and full of tons of stuff other than really meaty content about what I want to read. So this is an actual site that I went to. I'm not going to name any names, but you've been there too, I'm pretty sure. And really, the content of the article is just the blue part. And they spent so much energy stuffing their page with lots of other stuff, including weather, stock quotes, multiple layers of paid content recommendations, all kinds of sign-up tools and other things. And really, it's just a bunch of noise, right? I don't know what to do next, and I kind of feel like this, right? You're at the Vegas Strip, and there's so many things grabbing for your attention. There's kind of not an obvious next step for someone who kind of enjoyed your content and might want to go further with you, whether it's actually subscribing to your newsletter or perhaps reading something related to their interests to get to know you deeper. This is kind of like a more visual representation of that, but here it's really difficult to find the email subscription box, which is one of the most important conversions you can get for on an early visitor who's ready to convert, because you have so many other things here laid out in really a non-intuitive way. We did a test with Xerox, who was a user of our tools, and they previously had a layout not exactly like this, but with the subscribe box on kind of buried in the right rail, as you see here. And they switched to using a promotional tool that's an overlay. It was triggered to be a lot more courteous. It wasn't in your face as soon as you land, but at a more appropriate time in the site. And by doing that, they were able to get 600% increase on their email sign-up rate. So it's really important to not err on the side of subtlety, like you see here, but also not to be too aggressive when the time isn't right. So this is a really important lesson to learn. Sort of the next thing we do is we kind of all intuitively know that our visitors all have different interests and different needs. You know, a first-time visitor is quite different from someone who's been to your website every week for the past few months. And people all have different sorts of goals in your sites or needs based upon who they are and what they're interested in. But you know, what do we end up doing is we give everyone the same website experience, right? And this is extra common with blogs, where we all show people sort of a reverse chronological view of our content and don't even make any effort to put our best foot forward for new visitors or you know, go a little bit deeper for repeat visitors, right? And you know, no one wants to feel like this, right? We all want to be treated as individuals, kind of like your canonical you know, 50s shopkeeper type of analogy, right? So obviously we can't do that at scale with millions of visitors, but that should be kind of a goal in mind of, you know, can we get closer to a personal touch while making people feel comfortable? You know, the last thing we want to do is scare them away, and you know, we kind of have like a disaster across the whole industry, right? This is data from Google Analytics about how bad bounce rates have become across a bunch of different verticals of websites. So in case you don't know what a bounce rate means, a bounce is when someone lands on your website and then they leave without visiting any other pages, right? More than just your exit rate, it's how many people look at one thing and then are not, you know, motivated enough to look at another thing, right? So that's really a missed opportunity for people who you've successfully brought to your website through lots of hard work and weren't able to convert. And you know, it's pretty terrible if you look across verticals. And really, this is one of the biggest opportunities to drive more performance for websites. And you know, what we see people focusing on is way too much on their acquisition efforts to essentially put more people into the leaky bucket without, you know, trying to think about why is the bucket leaking and how do I improve my experience. So you know, the answer to this, we believe, is website personalization, and this really means tailoring everything that you can about your website to be a lot more pertinent to the needs and interests of your visitors. So this might sound like hard or futuristic, but it's actually pretty commonplace. And we're going to show some examples of why it's actually like a lot more approachable than you'd think. But if we're successful in doing this, what we do is really have a much more welcoming and relevant experience to first-time visitors and repeat visitors alike, and they're much more likely to stick around to make purchases, to sign up, and to refer their friends. So this isn't new at all, right? In fact, it's so common we almost take it for granted. At least I do when I go to Amazon or to Netflix. If you think about it, you know, almost all of the real estate on those websites, on the home pages of Amazon and Netflix.com, is really personalized to your tastes, right? The products and content that they show you is all machine generated and chosen to line up with things that you looked at before, things that you've purchased, maybe things that you've added to cart and not converted on, and trying to encourage repeat behavior. So if you look to those guys as kind of leaders, personalization is the approach they're taking to really differentiate themselves and lead in the market, and it's one of the best performance drivers for them. And not only is it effective, it's a huge differentiator, right? So if you were to go to an online store that is not as broad as Amazon, so essentially all of them, they are less likely to have data on you that they can use to personalize to think about what your preferences are across other categories. So this is a huge source of stickiness and differentiation for Amazon. So to put this to work, let's spend a moment talking about what makes website visitors different and how that might inform their needs, right? So a first-time visitor is someone who's, by definition, never seen your content before, and usually is best served by seeing one of your best articles. Most of us have evergreen articles that if you look in your analytics, week over week, you're seeing them, you know, things that maybe you published weeks or months or even years ago in your top 10 articles. And that means they're things that are time-tested, and either you hit a nerve because a lot of people have linked to it or keep coming back through search, or it's just a very effective, well-created article that you hit on. So where for a returning visitor, you want to show more of your freshest stuff because they've been there recently, you really want to merchandise your best evergreen content to first-time visitors. You know, similar things apply as well to returning visitors, whether they're occasional visitors or frequent visitors. And you can think of some ways that people, when they're mobile, are trying to accomplish different goals than when they're sitting at their desk. One example that we care a lot about is interests, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the deck. But if you have a source of interest data, we can find out if someone is really into sports or travel or entertainment or any sorts of categories as they pertain to your site. It's a huge opportunity, as well as targeting based upon traffic source. People who land via search are very different than people who land from social, or for example, people who might have just converted on your email. So we showed this example at the beginning. So we definitely don't feel that you should be slamming the door on someone when they first visit and be trying to take an email address from them before they're ready. What you should do for new visitors is really to offer some value first, right? So here's a more subtle way, this pink header bar, of offering some value. In this case, a marathon trading plan that really pertains to the interests of people who visit this site, and it's a kind of a common crowd pleaser article. And then, once someone's come back, so we've actually found that returning visitors to your website, meaning they left and they came back the same day or maybe the next day, they actually sign up to email conversion prompts at a 10x rate. So it's a humongous difference and way more efficient use of that inventory for you. So you're better off waiting until someone comes back and they've actually pre-filtered of someone who, hey, I liked what I saw and it came back for some reason. Maybe I'm ready to subscribe and join your list. We also really recommend, as it pertains to email, using some more fine-grained segmentation and knowing, when someone signs up, instead of just saying, hey, sign up for my big email list, if you know that they came from a certain place, or if they're looking at a certain type of article, or any sorts of other things you can either ask them to provide or infer about their interests, will really help you down the line refining your targeting, right? So sometimes you're going to want to send email newsletters to everybody, but a lot of times you're going to want to personalize your content, subject headers and calls to action based upon data you collected up front. And this is a really important technique to align your message with the interests and needs of your members. And geography is another great way to do this. We talked about the Minneapolis running site, and you might be forgiven for assuming that they're just a site about people who run in Minneapolis, which is where they got their origins. They're really one of our favorite sites, and they have been very successful with lots of content on their website that is sort of adjacent, still thematically consistent, but relevant to all kinds of runners across the world. So they have built up a big content repository. It's not just running in Minneapolis, but articles on people who run might be interested in healthy eating to help train for a race. So they have some pretty good cooking and food articles. If you're a runner, you're probably interested in running-related apparel, not just shoes, but also clothing, especially as the seasons change, that they've built up a nice content repository as well. Running in different areas. So we're talking here about races that you can go to internationally if you're a traveler. Is a great content area. And Justin, our moderator, had an experience he told me about where he went to Minneapolis running, and the tools, recommendation tools, already knew that he was into family topics. He's a new dad, and recommended to him an article about running strollers on Minneapolis running. It was sort of this serendipitous experience, of if I had just clicked on a random page, I might not have liked it as much, but really knowing what's right for my needs is a great opportunity to get to know somebody better. And you should try to combine these techniques. Always offering a little bit, in this case a coupon, a discount, when you go to ask for some value is a good way to encourage people to convert and really drive more performance for those collection systems. So we've talked a lot about the on-page stuff, and Tom is going to talk a lot more about actual on the list management side, but it's worth spending a moment on when you are able to get an email to someone's box and get them to convert. The personalization doesn't stop there, right? Someone who just clicked on one of your emails and came back to your site is a very specific person with whom you have a deep relationship and has just told you that they're interested in the email subject and call to action that you placed in there. So it's sort of a well-known best practice that you should customize your landing pages for all of the campaigns and all the marketing that you do to align with the subject and the topic of the campaign and the intent. But one way that you can go further is, apart from just lining up your website to match the campaign, is to go further and sub-segment. So if you know that people have interests in, and here we're showing different geographies, you can slice on your website within a campaign. I want to target people that I know have signed up in a particular geo or are currently in geo, if you have those tools available to you, to go a step further and personalize the landing page within a campaign. The same thing applies to interests, and the same thing applies to the depth of the relationship with someone. If you know they've clicked on your emails a lot or have made a lot of purchases, that's perhaps a different person. So we hope you are able to apply these techniques to your website and to your email marketing to really drive a lot more conversion through personalization and being a lot more relevant to the needs of your visitors. All right, back to you, Justin. Hey, Justin, you there?
Thanks so much, Charlie. Um, uh, Thanks so much, Charlie. And definitely don't forget, if you have any questions about what Charlie's talking about or what Tom is talking about, submit them via the GoToWebinar interface at the bottom, and then we'll address and do all the questions after both presentations are over. And if you're interested in tweeting about what we're talking about today, the hashtag is ATWebinar. So let me pass it over to Tom. Tom, it's all yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so okay, showing my screen. So you should see personalize your email marketing, and I'm actually today I'll be complementing so much of what Charlie just discussed because your website experience and your email experience for the end user should really go hand in hand. And once you work so hard to get subscribers, because it's not an easy task to attract subscribers based on your website content, but once you work so hard to get it, it's really important to continue nurturing that relationship with personalized email campaigns. So who am I? My name is Tom Tate. I'm from AWeber. We're an email marketing platform. We were founded in 1998. And really our mission is to help small businesses and entrepreneurs connect with their customers and prospects through email. And we offer kind of two main email platforms, broadcasts being one-time emails that are sent to a list of subscribers, and autoresponders, which is more of an automated sequence, and we have a new product that specializes in that and email automation. What you'll learn from me today, really, if you're not currently using email as a marketing channel, I would love to have the opportunity to just show you some of the benefits. Actionable tactics to start sending personal emails today, whether you do or do not have massive sets of data on every subscriber. Common personalization mistakes, we see them day in and day out, and it would be a disservice if I didn't point out a few of those. And metrics that you can evaluate to measure success, because really the purpose is to set up these personal relationships, but also to maximize your return, your revenue through your marketing. So I'll make a statement that we all know what email marketing is, and I wish that I could say this is true, but at AWeber we do hear quite frequently that people have different perceptions of what email marketing actually is. So I just want to clarify, when we talk about email marketing here, what it is we're actually talking about and what it isn't. So what is email marketing really? And there's this quote from our CEO, Tom Colzer, that I really, really gravitate towards. If you learn anything about email marketing as a business owner, let it be this. You are not blasting prospects and customers. And I love this quote, and me personally, I'm on a crusade against the term email blasts. It really taints that relationship building that starts on your website. So everything that Charlie was discussing about really catering to the interests and the needs of your website visitors, when they convert and become subscribers to your email list, if you're going to disregard that, those same needs, and you're just going to blast them with the same information to thousands of people, you're kind of doing a disservice to them. So we recommend that you talk to one person instead of 1,000. Don't get lost in the demographics of thousands and thousands of email subscribers, but really try to think about the core personas of your subscribers, and if you can, capture as much data as they're coming in so that you can really deliver personalized content just to them. So why email? This is a pretty outlandish percentage that I like to just kind of throw up on the screen. 4,300% ROI on email marketing, and it sounds ridiculous, almost too good to be true, but we evaluate the campaigns of our customers, and we do see ROI percentages up in the thousands when people do email right. 66% of consumers have made a purchase online as a result of an email marketing message. And if you're like me or my wife, this past week with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you were probably attracted by many of the deals that came in specifically through the inbox. And hope maybe a lot of those drove you to actually make a purchase that you otherwise were not planning to make. So whether you send broadcasts, again, you probably saw a lot of these on Black Friday, just offering these one-time sales, or automated emails. This is our latest platform, Campaigns, which allows you to set up automated email sequences with various triggers to do some sophisticated marketing. Our goal is generally the same. So we want our subscribers to open the email, and this starts with an engaging subject line. We want them to feel a certain thing, so we want to make that personal connection right away, immediately. We want them to engage with the email, so that starts with reading it, but also, we want to have a strong CTA in that email so that they can either read more content on your website or purchase a product. And this definitely complements what Charlie said about setting up a dedicated landing page that matches the content and look and feel of that particular email. Sharing an email is fantastic. So if you can craft an email that is worthy of someone forwarding to someone else, pat yourself on the back, because that's a great way to expand your reach and get new subscribers through word of mouth. And we want people to repeat and come back and continue this. So what we don't want, obviously we don't want people to just ignore your email in the inbox. We don't want people to open it and then delete it right away. We don't want a bad experience. So if you know contextually that your subscribers are going to be probably opening a particular email mobile, so if you ordered movie tickets that you have to open up and show when you get to the box office, if that is a horrible mobile email that you receive, you know that your subscriber is not going to have a good experience. And they ultimately may begin to detach from your brand. And one of the worst things that could happen is somebody could flag you as spam, which hurts your reputation as a sender, and also hurts the reputation of the ESP that you use. I do want to point out that I don't have unsubscribing up here, because unsubscribing is not always a bad thing. You want your email subscribers to be engaged. You want to keep the best subscribers on your email lists. So it's not always a terrible thing if they unsubscribe if the content is not right for them. It's when you're sending the wrong content to the right people that you want to question unsubscribes. So the inbox is personal, just as your website experience is. But the inbox especially, people accept, they elect to be on your email list. They give you permission to send email to them. So it's important that our emails are personal as well. So when we talk about email personalization, what is it that we're actually discussing? And really it boils down to this concept of 1 versus 1,000. It's about making a one-to-one connection with the human being at the other end of the email, really focusing on the fact that you're not just blasting an email to thousands of people based on demographics. You are actually writing a personal message to a human being that's going to receive it on the other end. And as much as we can do this with good content and design, we can also do it especially well leveraging data. So the data that we can leverage, obviously, starting with subscriber data, this is the data that the subscriber will give you typically at the point of opt-in. So if you have a sign-up form, or if you have a sign-up form, even just like we had for this webinar today when you registered, you can ask for certain pieces of data, such as name. You can ask them what industry they're in, what their interests are, maybe age demographics, and depending upon what ESP you use, on AWeber side, we collect all that data and we store it so that you can use it for your specific campaigns and so that you can create very targeted segments. Behavioral data. So behavioral data will kind of be, actions that a subscriber takes on site. Engagement, previous buying behavior. If a prospect purchases a product, you will want some type of automation to trigger to say that this prospect is no longer a prospect, but rather a customer, and you'll want to start communicating to them as such. Location of sign-up is another one. If you can capture the location of where they signed up, you don't have to ask them for their interest explicitly because you can probably make some educated guesses what they're interested in based on that location, what page they were on. And contextual data, I'm not going to talk too much about this today and how to use it, but you can use the time of day when someone opens an email. You can use local weather. There's a lot of really fancy, sophisticated things that email marketers are doing with contextual data, and I'm really interested to see what happens in the future with this. So no data, no problem. If you don't have any data, say your opt-in form is really just email address and submit, and you're just capturing emails, that's okay. Most email service providers have some data that you can work with. And my examples today, I'm going to try to give you some examples of what you can do if you don't have a ton of data specifically. And let's just jump right into it. So simple personalization campaigns. The first one, and I always say that email personalization is so much more than brackets first name. But really, it is a great way to start, a great way to dip your feet into sending personal emails. So it's just using that first name if you have it. So if you collected that first name in the opt-in, either experiment using it in the subject line, the preview text, which is that text that might appear in Gmail, just a little snippet, or the body of the email. A couple of examples here. I really love Nest, which is the smart thermostat. They will give you custom wiring guides based on your current circuitry when you're self-installing. And you'll see in the headline here, or the subject line here, they use my first name to say Tom's custom wiring guide because it actually was custom based on my wiring. A few here, like I personally love Netflix is kind of a great source to look at when it comes to sending personalized content. I know that they're following my behavior, what I watch, and what my interests are. So when they send me an email that says, Tom, we just added a TV show you might like, I know that it's probably going to be in line with my interests, and because they called me out by name, I'm more likely to open this. In our own campaigns, so we have an automated series, and this is the 8th email in that series where we say Tom, or first name, in the actual subject line, and you'll notice on the right, if you look at the open rates, it kind of goes 27, 26. You would expect it to go to 25 and then 24, but it bounces back up because we use the first name almost up to 28%. And when you're sending this to thousands of people, that 1% is certainly going to have an impact. So campaign number 2, plain and simple. This really doesn't rely on any data at all. It's just deciding whether or not you want to send a fancy branded templated HTML email that your typical you're used to seeing with retail or email newsletters, or opt to send a plain text style HTML email. And I'll show you an example of what this looks like, because the plain emails can feel like they were actually sent from a real human being, a real person, and not just delivered from a brand. So an example that I like comes from Pat Flynn. He's an internet marketer. He operates at smartpassiveincome.com, and he says, "Is there anything you want me to write a blog post about?" Which is a question that I would be interested in answering. And then when I open it, it says, "Hi Tom," again using first name. "How are you? I hope all is well." But the real takeaway here is that this is it's a plain looking email. I really do get the sense that he's writing specifically to me, asking me a question, rather than the usual branded emails that you would see. And I'm not saying don't brand your emails. So this example, the Land of Nod, which is they specialize in children's products. This email looks fantastic, and you'll see the design is very important. It highlights the 15% off upholstery, and they have a very strong visual brand. So to send the plain-looking emails would be a disservice to their visual brand. So it's a totally different strategy. So it's really just a matter of deciding which works for you and experimenting. So in ours, we kind of combine the two, where it's branded. We use our colors. We use our logo. We have a nice big green button. It doesn't feel like it was sent from from Thunderbird, but we sign it off by an actual team member just to emphasize the fact that this was written and is coming from an actual human being, even though this is an automated message that gets sent. Here's another example of kind of a branded email, but this one comes from Ollie Gardner at Unbounce, and again, cut to you on an average night, Tom, directly addressing me, and this one is also signed off by Ollie, so it's coming from a real person. And I always recommend avoid, if you can, the do not reply at yourbusiness.com, just because that is an indication to the user that you don't even want them to engage with the email like they would if it was a personal email. You don't even want them to respond. You're explicitly telling them not to. Campaign 3, the right message. And this one, it kind of touches on like the cliche that you frequently hear, which is, send the right message to the right person at the right time. And you hear that a lot in marketing, but you really have the ability to do that these days using modern technology, and it's so much easier than you think. This particular technique is awesome because it doesn't require any data that you capture at the sign-up process. What you want to do is create segments based on the way people engage with the first couple of emails that you do send, so that you can deliver custom follow-up messages to speak to their behavior. I'm going to show you guys a quick example. So let's say that you have a course. This course could be a course, in our case, a course about writing a course. You'll send out the first initial email, how to use autoresponders to write an email course. You'll have a call to action to join the course. But you'll see in your analytics that a certain percentage of people did not open this message. So in AWeber, you can just click a big green button that says send directly to these subscribers, and you'll have the opportunity to send a follow-up message to those people that might not have received the first message. Or you can create a segment for the people who opened that first message, but they did not click on your call to action, right? So this is actually straight from the email that we sent for this webinar, and we saw that we had a lot of people who did not click on the call to action to sign up for the webinar. I have the option then to send directly to those subscribers a follow-up, to say we really think you would benefit from this email and this webinar, and see if you can capture more registrants. Campaign 4, again, this C.Y.O.A, choose your own adventure. It does not rely on a ton of data. Basically, what you want to do here is create a sign-up form or two sign-up forms side by side to allow your subscribers or your website visitors to choose their own adventure. So in this particular example, which I love the design of, we have a course for designers or a course for non-designers. And basically, you're allowing people to self-select at this point. So they'll decide whether they want to receive the specific content for designers or specific to non-designers. And you don't have to rely on some fancy segmentation on the back end or ask them more questions other than just setting it up in this kind of visual way. So I'll run through quickly a few personalization pitfalls, and then we'll get to questions. Pitfall number 1, again, personalized emails is so much more than first name, and one of the dangers of first names is kind of this first name whoops. So you always want to test your emails. You want to be aware of sounding like a robot, which happens frequently with first name if you're not careful. And if you do make a mistake, you want to own it. So this one I call the awkward pause, where it's hello and then a little break in the text, and then it says Tom, hello. Correctly. The full name. So if you look at the subject line here, subject see that and might be less likely to click it. The wrong name. So I received this email actually a couple weeks ago. It said, "Dear Kyle," and it asked me to take a survey about 2016 inbox. So in my response, I actually said, "Sure, I'll take that survey, but can you please update my first name to Tom because it's not Kyle?" And then I said, "Thank you." And the moral here, is really these mistakes are going to happen, or hopefully not if you're testing your emails, but occasionally these mistakes will happen, and it's important to own your mistakes. So they actually send an email out to their entire list where basically they own their mistake and said, "Hey, we called you the wrong name, and we'll stop calling you Kyle," which I appreciated. Pitfall number 2. So this is the customer prospect mix-up. you do not want to, oversell customers on something that they already purchased or in a way that they've already converted, right? So if you send out an email saying subscribe or register for this webinar, and you're not tracking the data of those that registered, and you're just continuing to send emails saying register for this webinar, and you're hitting people who already registered, you're really sending them the wrong message, and you're overselling. And the same thing applies to prospects and customers. So you want to use automation or tags, to kind of make sure that you're capturing these details. And I'll show you a quick example. This Xbox One, which was a very, very great personal email based on my buying behavior to, I guess at this point, upsell me on accessories and games for the Xbox. But what would have happened if I received an email that said free $50 gift card if you purchase an Xbox One after I already purchased it? I would have felt, that this email was certainly irrelevant to me, and if I received enough of these, I might unsubscribe. Luckily, Best Buy is really great with their email marketing, and I actually received these in inverse, so it made sense. But this is one of the examples where you want to try to be careful about the messaging that you're sending and make sure that you're giving prospects and customers what they want when they want it, and then based on where they are in their journey. So my final point will be always be testing, and this applies not just to email marketing, but hopefully all of your marketing channels. Specific to email, the metrics that you want to track, so sales, clicks, opens, unsubscribes, and traffic. I could probably host an entire webinar just on these metrics, so I'm not going to go in total detail, but this nice acronym that we have here, SCOUT, will hopefully help you remember some of these. And they're pretty self-explanatory. Traffic here being traffic back to your website. So if you're using Google Analytics and UTM parameters, for example, and you're kind of capturing campaigns specific to emails that you send, it's a great way to gauge that one. A couple other metrics outside of the acronym. So we have bounces, location, and email domain. Geolocation is a fantastic way to start creating segments. So if you have international subscribers, East Coast versus West Coast, you can really make some smart decisions, not only about the content, but also the send time, right? You can really decide what send windows you want to select to be strategic about when emails hit the inbox. Bounces has to do with your deliverability. So if an email bounces, it's an indication that either the inbox, the subscriber's inbox was not available at the time, or it no longer exists. So it's something to look at to keep a healthy list. And then email domain, here is an example, like if 44% of your customers have gmail.com addresses, you can make some decisions there about, maybe how your emails should look, where you should be testing specifically for design and aesthetic purposes. I wish that I could tell you, here are the stats to aim for, but they're going to vary by industry. I'm going to put this link here, so blog.kissmetrics.com/email-marketing-2015. It's a great post, and it breaks down by industry, unique open rates, and unique click-through rates. And a lot of this is going to depend on your specific audience, and it's also going to depend on the size of your list. So take these with a grain of salt. My advice is be aware of your industry statistics, but capture your benchmark and then use that accordingly to continue to improve. Parting words of wisdom, and everyone's different. I just mentioned that, so just iterate on what works. Email marketing is permission marketing. So your invitation to the inbox, it's a privilege, like the opportunity that you have the ability to send a direct message, and somebody with a smartwatch or a smartphone is going to get that message immediately and hopefully engage with it. That is a privilege, so use it wisely and take advantage of it because it's a really, really effective channel. relationships. They're going to begin on your website or in person and then lead to your website. As Charlie mentioned, you really want to give them the best possible experience and give them the content they're looking for. But they're going to continue to be built in the inbox. So you'll do them a disservice if you don't continue to have that personal touch and keep that user persona in mind as you're sending them emails. So we have a 30-day trial if you want to try AWeber for 30 days. It's a free trial. Just go to aweber.com, and we'll extend that for webinar registrants today. So if you're attending or watching the replay, try us for 60 days free. There are no risks involved. If you're with an existing email service provider, you can import your subscribers and give us a shot using the code ADDTHIS on the order page for aweber.com. So at this point, I'll send it back to Justin, and I guess we'll take questions.
So thanks so much, Tom. So we have one question, or time for one question. Tom, someone asked, what do you do when you have first name and last name in the same field in your data set?
So it's going to depend on your email service provider and what they're able to do with that data. I know for AWeber specifically, we can capture full name and we can parse that out. So we will send, you can select a token for specifically for first name, and it'll pull it out. And we have some documentation on how to easily do that. So it's going to depend, but it's not. If you have full name, it's not hopeless, right? Like you can most likely parse that out easily.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tom, and thanks so much to everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. As we said at the onset, that this webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to everyone who attended and everyone who RSVP'd, so that way you can, if you missed any portion of the webinar, you can see it specifically and rewatch it at your leisure. If you have any questions or want to continue the conversation, both of our two speakers will be following all conversations on Twitter using the hashtag #A2webinar. So definitely don't be shy and use that. But thanks so much for attending. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to having you on webinars in the new year. Thanks again. Cheers.